In the middle of the bustling market stood a fragile wooden stall, its corners splintered, its planks uneven, its frame barely held together with rusted nails and sheer hope. Behind it stood a boy, no older than 12, carefully arranging oranges in precise rows. His tiny hands moved with the care and discipline of someone far older, as if each fruit carried the weight of his survival. This is where our story begins. A place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. A place where Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the youngest head of state in the world, would witness a moment that revealed not just the struggle of one child, but the very spirit of his nation. But here is the question: what would he do in this moment? Would he walk past, like countless others who had seen this boy before? Would he toss a few coins, nod politely, and continue on his way? Or would something stir deep within him? Something that no security briefing, no political meeting, no military strategy could prepare him for? Stay with me, because what happens next will not only move you to tears, it will show you exactly why Ibrahim Traoré has captured the hearts of millions across Africa and beyond. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March 2024. 2 years had passed since Captain Traoré had taken leadership of Burkina Faso at just 35 years old. That day, he decided to do something unusual, something his advisors and security team strongly opposed. He wanted to take an unannounced walk through the capital's markets. "How can I lead these people if I never see them?" he told his guards, his voice calm yet firm, brushing aside their concerns with the quiet resolve that had become his signature. He removed his military uniform that day. No medals, no camouflage, no boots that echoed authority. Instead, he walked in simple civilian clothes, an ordinary man among his people. The market was alive with noise and color. Mothers haggled over millet, their voices rising and falling in a dance as old as time. Old men leaned against baobab trees, trading stories and wisdom that had outlived generations. Children darted between shops, laughter spilling from their lips like rivers of joy. The air was heavy with the scent of roasted peanuts, fried plantains, and the sweat of honest labor. But then, something quiet yet powerful, caught Ibrahim's eye. In a lonely corner of the market, away from the chaos and chatter, stood that fragile wooden stall. It looked as though a single gust of wind could bring it crashing down. The wood was cracked, bleached by years of sun and rain, crooked as though it had given up on standing tall. Yet it wasn't the stall itself that struck Ibrahim. It was the boy behind it. His face was young, but already etched with lines of responsibility. His clothes were faded, his sandals worn thin. Yet in his eyes was a fire, a determination too fierce for a child so small. He was not playing. He was not begging. He was working, carefully stacking oranges one by one, polishing them against his shirt, aligning them with a precision that spoke not of childhood games, but of survival. To Ibrahim, that stall was no longer just wood and fruit. It was a battlefield where poverty, resilience, and dignity clashed every single day. And this boy, this nameless child, was a soldier fighting not with weapons, but with hope. The child could not have been more than 12, and yet, in his eyes lived the weight of a man far older. Later, Ibrahim would learn his name, Musa. His clothes were torn, patched so many times they barely held together. His school uniform, worn proudly whenever he managed to attend classes, had faded after countless washes in the river. His feet were bare, hardened by years of walking across hot dust and sharp stones, and yet Musa's stall told a different story. On that fragile wooden table, he had arranged his oranges with such care that it could move even the coldest heart. Each one was polished until it gleamed under the afternoon sun. They were not the finest fruits, not the fat, shiny ones sold by the big traders. These were the small, bruised leftovers, the rejects. But to Musa, they were treasure. He hid their scars, arranged them like jewels, and presented them with pride. What struck Ibrahim that day wasn't simply the boy's poverty. Poverty was everywhere in Burkina Faso, despite his government's ongoing struggle to change it. No, what struck him was Musa's dignity. Despite hunger gnawing at his belly, despite the cruel weight of rejection, the boy stood tall. He greeted each passerby with a smile so genuine, so respectful, that it could shame men 3 times his age. But customer after customer passed him by. Some didn't even glance at him. Others paused, frowned, and walked away toward the larger, wealthier stalls. A woman stopped, picked up an orange, inspected it, and then, without a word, shook her head and left. For a moment, Musa's small shoulders sank. His eyes dimmed, but only for a moment. He straightened himself, rearranged the oranges once more, and forced that brave little smile back onto his face. Ibrahim could not look away. He stepped closer, drawn in by something he could not yet explain. He saw Musa's tiny hands, stained orange from the fruit, scratched and nicked from carrying heavy crates. He even heard faintly a stomach growl that the noise of the marketplace could not fully hide. And then Musa called out, trying to sound strong and confident, "Fresh oranges, sweet and juicy, perfect for the summer." But his small voice was drowned out by a booming one nearby. A bigger merchant shouted at him angrily, waving him away like an unwanted stray. Ibrahim couldn't catch every word, but the meaning was obvious. This boy was unwelcome competition. Musa's face turned red with shame. But once again he did not argue. He did not fight. He simply bowed his head, returned to his little stall, and straightened the oranges again, holding on to that stubborn hope. And that's when Ibrahim noticed something else. Beneath the wooden stall lay a small notebook. Its cover was bent, its pages smudged with dirt. Next to it, a pencil, so short it was barely more than an eraser. Between customers, Musa would kneel, pick up that notebook, and begin to write, slowly, carefully. His tongue stuck out in concentration as he formed letters and numbers, one by one, as though each stroke carried the weight of his future. This was not just a boy selling fruit. This was a boy building a dream. As the sun dipped lower and shadows stretched across the market, the truth became clear. Musa had sold almost nothing. His coins, small, scattered, pitiful, barely covered the palm of his hand. And as he counted and recounted them, worry clouded his young face. It was in that moment, standing silently a few steps away, that Ibrahim Traoré felt something deep within his chest stir, a resolve that this child's story could not, and would not, end like this. The marketplace was alive with noise, but Ibrahim's heart was quiet, heavy, and deeply moved. Watching this scene unfold, something stirred deep inside him. This wasn't just about a boy selling oranges, no. It was about something far bigger. It was about the future of Burkina Faso itself, about children who should be in schools, dreaming of tomorrow, yet instead are forced to think only of survival, about wasted potential, stolen before it could ever bloom, about dignity, about whether the smallest among them would ever be treated as human beings worthy of respect. The captain, a man who had faced coups, betrayals, and the crushing weight of foreign pressure, suddenly realized he was now facing a challenge greater than any military operation. Armies and politics were one thing, but this was the soul of his nation. And in that moment, no one, not even Ibrahim himself, knew what he would do next. Then it happened. A well-dressed man, with arrogance dripping from every step, approached Musa's little stand. He sneered at the oranges without so much as touching them, his lip curling in disdain. He didn't ask the price, didn't consider buying. No, his purpose was not commerce. His purpose was domination. To remind a struggling child of his place, with cruel mockery he scoffed, These are not worth my time. Why would I buy from a boy pretending to be a merchant?" But Musa, brave in his politeness, responded softly, "Please, sir, these are good oranges. They are sweet inside, even if they don't look perfect outside. I can give you a fair price." The man laughed, his voice sharp and merciless. "Fair price? Boy, you are not even a real seller. Go home." This market is not for children playing at business. Humiliation spread across Musa's young face like a shadow. Yet even then he held his composure. With quiet strength he replied, "I am not playing, sir. This is how I help my family." The man waved his hand dismissively, as if swatting away an insect, and walked off, his mocking words loud enough for others to hear. Ibrahim's fists clenched at his side. His whole body wanted to move, to step forward, to defend the boy's honor. But he stopped himself. This was not a moment for anger, not a moment for authority. No, This was a test of something deeper. As his chest burned with emotion, Ibrahim's mind drifted back to his own childhood. He remembered the struggles, the empty nights, the faces of strangers whose small acts of kindness had once made all the difference. And he remembered his mother's gentle wisdom, words etched into his very soul. True strength, my son, is not shown in how you treat your equals, but in how you treat those with less. The sun was beginning to set, its orange glow spreading across the marketplace. But with every passing moment, Musa's chances of selling his fruit faded with the light. His hope seemed to dim with it. Then a mother and her young daughter approached. The little girl, about Musa's age, but clearly from a wealthier family, noticed him. Her eyes softened, and with innocent compassion she tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mama," she whispered, "can we buy some oranges? That boy looks hungry. Maybe we can help." But the mother shook her head firmly. "No, darling. Let's go to the proper fruit seller. These don't look very good." Ibrahim was close enough to hear every word. He didn't just hear it, he felt the sting of it. And when he looked at Musa, he saw the effect it had. The boy's shoulders slumped. This time he didn't straighten up quickly. The rejection wasn't just about selling fruit anymore. It wasn't about money, it was about his worth. In that moment, Musa was not just a boy trying to earn for his family. He was a symbol of countless children dismissed, overlooked, and stripped of dignity, and Ibrahim knew he could not remain silent forever. At that very moment, Ibrahim felt the weight of destiny pressing upon his shoulders. He understood with absolute clarity this was no ordinary encounter. It was not a test of the little boy's strength, for Musa had already shown more resilience than many grown men. No, this was a test of his own humanity, of his character, of the kind of leader he truly was when no cameras were rolling, when no stage was prepared, and when no script could guide him. And so, before the eyes of the bustling marketplace, Ibrahim did something no one anticipated. He did not command attention with the stern authority of a head of state, nor did he stride forward with the heavy boots of power. Instead, he walked quietly, humbly, like one human being approaching another. "Good evening," he said, his voice calm and gentle, carrying more warmth than rank. "These look like fine oranges." In that instant, something extraordinary happened. Musa's face, weary from rejection after rejection, lit up with a radiant smile, the first genuine one Ibrahim had seen all day. The boy's eyes sparkled with pride as he stood straighter, his small chest rising with renewed hope. "Thank you, sir." Musa replied eagerly, his voice trembling with excitement. "They are very good, sweet and juicy, perfect for the summer." "How much for one?" Ibrahim asked, leaning closer, his tone soft and respectful. "100 CFA francs, sir," Musa said quickly, then hesitated. "But for you, 80, you seem like a kind man." Those words struck Ibrahim deeper than he expected. Even in his poverty, even in his hunger, the boy's instinct was to give, to sacrifice a portion of his tiny profit, just to show gratitude to someone who treated him with dignity. Ibrahim felt a lump rising in his throat. "No," Ibrahim said firmly, shaking his head. For a brief moment, Musa's smile faltered, fear flickering across his young face. But then Ibrahim continued, 100 francs is a fair price, in fact." He paused, his eyes scanning the small stall, and then he spoke the words that stunned everyone within earshot. "I think I'll take quite a few." Musa blinked, uncertain if he had heard correctly. His lips parted in disbelief. "I'll take them all," Ibrahim declared with quiet certainty. The boy's eyes widened, his mouth falling open. "All of them." "Sir, every single one?" "Yes," Ibrahim replied, his voice steady yet kind. "Every single one." The boy's small hand shook as he reached for his notebook, fumbling with his pencil. He began to count, his voice trembling as he did the math. "That will be 3,000 francs, sir." "Are you sure?" But Ibrahim did not answer with words right away. Instead, he lowered himself slowly onto a small wooden crate beside the stall, bringing himself down to the boy's level. The crowd gasped. The president of the nation, the captain of the people, sat humbly in the dust beside a child who was often overlooked, ignored or dismissed. With his eyes soft and steady, he asked, "What's your name, son?" "Musa, sir." "Musa Wado," the boy whispered, his voice filled with nervous pride. "And tell me, Musa," Ibrahim continued, "why are you here selling oranges instead of playing with your friends?" At this, Musa's gaze dropped to the ground. His small shoulders, burdened with more weight than any child should carry, slumped slightly. "My father is sick, sir," he said quietly. "He can't work the fields anymore. My mother washes clothes for other families, but it isn't enough. My little sister sometimes needs medicine. And He hesitated, his voice breaking. "I want to stay in school, but I need to help too." The marketplace fell silent. Every passer-by, every vendor, every customer who had once ignored him now listened intently. Ibrahim's heart clenched at the boy's words. "And how long have you been here, Musa?" he asked softly. 6 months, sir," the boy replied. "Every day after school, all day on weekends." "And in all that time," Ibrahim asked, his voice almost breaking, "has anyone ever bought all your oranges at once?" Musa shook his head, his answer simple yet heavy with truth. "No, sir. Most days, if I sell half, I'm happy." And with that, Ibrahim knew that this moment, this small stall, this young boy, this simple act would echo far beyond the walls of that crowded market. By now, the marketplace had changed. What began as a quiet exchange between a humble boy and a kind stranger had drawn the attention of dozens. Then dozens became hundreds. Soon the crowd pressed closer, their whispers rippling through the air like waves. "It's him. It's Captain Traoré. He's buying from the Orange Boy." Phones were lifted discreetly at first, then openly, recording every gesture, every word. The people knew instinctively that what they were witnessing was not just a transaction. It was a moment that would live in memory, a story that would spread far beyond this dusty street. Ibrahim reached into his pocket. The boy, still trembling with disbelief, had carefully calculated the total, 3,000 francs for the entire stall of oranges. He expected that, perhaps this stranger, would hand him the exact amount. But when Ibrahim placed the bills into Musa's small hands, the crowd gasped. It was not 3,000. It was 10,000. Musa's eyes widened. His lips parted in shock. "Sir!" "This is too much," he stammered, his voice breaking. His tiny fingers tried desperately to push the extra money back. "Please, I can't take this." But Ibrahim gently placed a hand on the boy's thin shoulder. His touch was steady, reassuring, fatherly. He looked directly into Musa's eyes and spoke words that silenced even the noisiest corners of the market. "Musa, listen to me. These oranges are not just fruit. They represent something far greater. They are your dignity, your determination, your refusal to surrender to despair. That spirit, my son, is worth more than a few thousand francs. It is priceless." The boy's face crumbled as tears welled up and streamed down his cheeks. His hands trembled, clutching the bills not as money, but as a symbol of recognition, of being seen, truly seen, for the very first time. "But, sir," Musa whispered, choking back sobs, "why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me." Ibrahim smiled softly, and his voice carried a warmth that wrapped itself around the boy like a protective embrace. "I know everything I need to know. I know you work hard when many would give up. I know you love your family more than yourself. I know that even in hardship, you have refused to let bitterness steal your manners, your respect, or your hope. And Musa, it is children like you who will one day build a stronger, brighter Burkina Faso. Then, Ibrahim leaned closer and asked for something in return, not money, not labor, but a promise. "Promise me one thing, Musa. Promise me that no matter how heavy life feels, no matter how many storms you face, you will never abandon your education. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is freedom. It is the one treasure no one can ever take from you. Guard it with your life." Through his tears, the boy nodded fiercely. "I promise, sir. I promise with all my heart." As Ibrahim stood, the crowd could no longer contain themselves. Applause erupted like thunder. Merchants who only hours before had shunned Musa now pushed forward, not to scold him, but to congratulate him, to offer support, to stand by his side. The boy who had once been invisible was now at the very center of his nation's gaze. And then history began to move. Videos of the moment spread like wildfire across phones, radios, and televisions. Within hours, the world was speaking the name of the boy with the oranges. Within days, families across Burkina Faso shared stories of their own children. Children like Musa, fighting for survival, craving education, refusing to let hope die. Teachers stood in classrooms and spoke of him with pride. Business leaders began to rethink how they treated young entrepreneurs, realizing that dignity mattered as much as profit. Within a week, the markets themselves began to change. People sought out the youngest, the poorest, the most struggling vendors, not out of pity, but out of respect. Musa's oranges became a phrase, a symbol, a living proverb in Burkina Faso. It meant respect for the overlooked. It meant dignity for the forgotten, and the ripple became a wave. Programs were launched across the nation, scholarships for poor students, microloans for child vendors, cooperatives for struggling families. What began as a single act of kindness became a movement, reshaping how a country cared for its most vulnerable. As for Musa, his own life transformed. His father, once too sick to work, received medical treatment. His mother joined a cooperative of women earning enough to support her household with dignity. His younger sister received the medicine she needed. And Musa himself, he entered an accelerated education program where his brilliance shone like a hidden star, finally brought into the open sky. What began with a wooden stall and a few oranges had grown into something far bigger. It had become the story of a nation choosing to honor its children, its future, its soul. Months passed, and life slowly began to settle back into rhythm. But destiny had quietly been shaping a different path for young Musa. One afternoon, reporters who had once written of a boy selling oranges in the market went looking for him. They did not find him standing by the roadside, clutching his basket under the sun. Instead, they discovered him in a small classroom, his eyes bright with curiosity, his hand raised high with confidence, his notebook overflowing with scribbles of formulas, ideas, and dreams of tomorrow. The fragile little stall where everything had begun was still there. It had not been torn down nor forgotten. Instead, the community had chosen to preserve it. They called it the Stall of Dignity. To many it was just wood and cloth, but to Burkina Faso it had become a monument, a symbol of what can happen when a society refuses to overlook its weakest, when it decides to see, honor, and uplift every soul. People from across towns and villages came to witness it. Mothers pointed it out to their children. Teachers used it as a lesson. Leaders spoke of it in their speeches. It was no longer just a stall. It was a story carved into the heart of the nation. Years went by and Musa grew. His persistence carried him forward, and his brilliance lit the way. When the day of his graduation came, he stood tall at the top of his class, with a full scholarship to university. On that day, as he was invited to speak before his community, he carried with him not just pride, but a memory. His voice trembled, yet rang with truth as he said, "The evening Captain Traoré bought my oranges, he didn't simply give me money. He gave me something far more precious. He gave me the gift of dignity. He made me believe that I mattered, that my efforts were worth something, that my dreams deserved to be chased. And he taught me that success is not just about rising alone, but about seeing others with the same compassion, with dignity, with hope, and with the understanding that we all have something valuable to give." Those words echoed in the hall, settling deeply into the hearts of everyone present. They were not the words of a child anymore. They were the wisdom of a man transformed by kindness. Even today, if you walk through the bustling markets of Ouagadougou, you will still find it, the Stall of Dignity. It is not merely preserved as a relic nor frozen in time. It has become alive with purpose. Young vendors who once felt invisible are now mentored there by established merchants. The stall has become a meeting ground of generations, a living, breathing reminder that when ordinary people choose extraordinary compassion, extraordinary transformations take place. And yet, when one reflects on it all, the encounter itself lasted less than 30 minutes, just half an hour, one brief moment in the flow of life. And yet its impact will ripple across decades, across lives, across a nation. Because that day, something remarkable happened. Dignity met power, and both were changed forever. That is why the story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré will not fade into silence. It will be carried forward, told again and again, not as a tale of politics or war, but as a testimony to the power of humanity, to the truth that one act of compassion can alter destinies. And now, dear viewer, if this story stirred something within you, I invite you to carry it forward. Subscribe for more stories of leadership, hope, and humanity. Share this video so others may feel the power of dignity and compassion. And in the comments, tell us, when was the last time someone showed you unexpected kindness? Or when was the moment you chose to see dignity in someone the world had ignored? Your story, too, may become the spark that lights hope for another. Thank you for watching, and remember, each of us carries within us the power to be someone's Ibrahim Traoré.